Okay, we're gonna get started here in a moment. Just letting folks get joined into the stream, so probably another minute or two. All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second of our Owens information sessions. I'm going to run through some slides. There aren't a whole lot, and if you attended the previous one, it's largely the same except for the timeline. That's shifted a little bit since the one we did at the beginning of June. You can type questions in the Q&A box. I will probably wait until the end to answer those unless there's one particularly relevant to what I'm talking about right now. So let's go ahead and share my slides. Okay. And there we go. So just to kind of contextualize Owens, I think we should talk a little bit about OSC's impact. I like to do this in pretty much every talk I give, just to kind of remind people the kind of numbers of folks that we're serving and the breadth of areas and universities that OSC helps serve. So 25 in the last calendar year, 2015, we had 25 different Ohio universities use us, 33 different companies, almost 1,300 clients, 124 trainees attended 10 different training opportunities, 451 project awards, 459 active projects, and 19 different classroom projects or academic classes used OSC services. That adds up to over 161 million core hours, over 4 million jobs, 847 terabytes of total data stored, and 99.7% uptime, exceeding our target of 96%. So in last calendar year, we had 116 new faculty show up from all around the state. You can see the kind of diversity of institutions there, places like Kenyon and Worcester and Shawnee, as well as the kind of the large R1s, Case Western, OSU, and UC, have all been having new faculty come on board and start using our services. The 459 awards were also scattered around the state. You can see here kind of by university who was getting more awards. And just as context, our approval rate is very high for awards. So if you submit a grant proposal, you're very likely to get a grant here. And the 19 course awards, most of those were at OSU, but we supported classrooms at Miami, UC, Cedarville, UD, Bowling Green, Toledo, Cleveland State, and Akron. And the usage, and this is in aggregate hours, this is the academic usage by field of science, ignoring ones where we don't have data. So startups, typically, we don't have data on what exactly they're doing yet. Mathematical and physical sciences were the largest consumer, followed by engineering. We've seen growth in geosciences and the biological, behavioral, and social sciences over the last couple of years as well. All right, so let's talk about what we really are interested, I think, in talking about today, and that's Owens and the storage service upgrades. So storage, we're actually replacing all three of our storage services, Home, Project, and Scratch. That work is underway, and I'll talk a little bit more about specifics in a future slide. It's scheduled to be complete July 12th. And that date has changed. The original completion date was supposed to be tomorrow. As you all should have hopefully heard by now, we have postponed the downtime for tomorrow due to a bug that we found. And we decided the conservative thing to do to ensure that we didn't have any data corruption was to retransfer all of the data. And that means a delay in the downtime. So it'll be July 12th now. And at that point, we'll switch over to the project and the new Project and Scratch services. Data center facilities work is ongoing to allow us to get the new cluster up and running fully. We have power and plumbing work to do. We got controlling board approval August 4th. Most of the facilities work we expect to be done in August. The supercomputer itself was delivered in early June, so it's on the floor, and we are doing work on the system now. We expect to be in limited production August 29th. And so at that point, we expect to have all users able to log into the system and do work. Just not all of the nodes will be powered up at that point. And I should reiterate that this is a tentative date. This date could shift based on what we experience in deployment. And the expected full production is November 1st. This is dependent on a number of facilities projects. Again, to be able to turn all of the nodes on. So this date is obviously also tentative and could also slip. So the storage service upgrades, the home directory change has already happened. So those have been in production since June 7th. On the existing clusters, your old path /NFS/ some two-digit number or two-character number and your username, that path still works. It's symlinked to a new location. On Owens, that symlink won't exist, so we are encouraging you to start using $home or ~/ to access your home directory in a system-independent way. But we've gone from 300 terabytes to 900 terabytes in capacity. The bandwidth is 10 gigabytes per second. It's this new NetApp appliance. We've seen some nice performance gains already with that system. So the project space is also being replaced. We're going from about 1.1 petabytes to about 3.4 petabytes, and a big jump in aggregate performance to 40 to 50 gigabytes per second. This is an IBM Elastic Storage device, and the new deployment date for that is July 12th. The global Scratch system, so this is, I believe, /FS/Lustre on the current clusters. That's being replaced with a new storage system. We're going to the mount location will be like /NFS/Scratch, I believe. But we're getting away from using a technology-dependent path. So project is no longer going to be at /GPFS. It'll be at project, and Scratch will be under Scratch instead of under Lustre. We're going from 570 terabytes to about 1 petabyte. Again, a big jump in performance, 100 gigabytes per second, and it's again an IBM Elastic Storage appliance. And July 12th, the same downtime is when we expect to deploy that. One question that came up in the previous session that I can give a definitive answer on now is that the existing data on Lustre will be migrated to Global Scratch. We do understand that despite it being a temporary system, temporary file system that is not backed up, that because of the tight storage on project today, that many people are using Lustre for more or less permanent data storage, data that they intend to keep. So we will migrate that data to the new Scratch system. We would like to work with you if you are storing data on Scratch that you intend to keep, to get that migrated over to project space, since now we have some additional capacity after the downtime. And then the tape library, we've gone from about 2 petabytes to about 5.5, with future plans to expand to over 10 petabytes. This work was done in April, was necessary to support the larger backups required for the new file systems. So let's look at our overall clusters. We have Oakley and Ruby running today, 154 teraflops theoretical peak, 144 on Ruby. Those include accelerators. Owens will have about 750 teraflops. There are no accelerators in Owens currently, although we do have capacity for those. I'll talk about those, I believe, on the next slide. Nodes, there's going to be 824 nodes in Owens, a total of over 23,000 cores, and 120 terabytes of aggregate memory. So there's over 5 gigabytes of memory per core, which is an improvement from our current machines. And we've gone to EDR InfiniBand, so the next step up in the InfiniBand as well. So there are 3 nodes, or 3 different node configurations in Owens. There's dense compute. This is the bulk of the system. There's 648 Dell PowerEdge C6320 nodes. Each has 2 Intel Xeon E5 2680 V4 14-core 2.4 gigahertz Broadwell chips. So that means there's a total of 28 cores per node for the dense compute nodes. And there's 128 gigs of memory on each of those nodes. We have 160 GPU-ready nodes that were for our GPU compute portion of the cluster. Those have the same processor, so there's still going to be 28 cores per node in there and 128 gigs of RAM. There's just going to be the capability to install 1 or 2 NVIDIA GPUs. We expect to be purchasing Keplers in the near future to add into those, but those will not be available until very late this year or early next year. We're not sure on the timing of that yet, or whether or not we're going to get 1 or 2 GPUs per node. So in the early user period, or the kind of partial spin up of the cluster, we do not expect to have GPUs available. So if you are using GPU work, you'll want to remain on Oakley or Ruby for the time being. And then analytics nodes. We have 16 total Dell PowerEdge nodes for the analytics. It's a different processor. These are slightly slower clock rate Haswells with slightly fewer cores. So there's only 4 12-core Haswell processors in each of these nodes. There's about 1.5 terabytes of RAM, and half of the nodes, 8 of them, have 24 2-terabyte local drives. So I'm not sure exactly how we're going to configure those drives yet, but they're going to be available as very large local high-speed Scratch space on those analytics nodes. So there's an early user program for Owens. Application was open until May 20th. We got a number of good applicants. As I mentioned previously, the Pascal GPUs will not be available during early user. The selected research groups will move to Owens early. We want help testing the hardware and software installs. And we also want to reduce load on our other systems so that users not in the early user program see some benefit. I believe we're going to be sending notices this week, or start sending notices this week to clients about the program, letting them know what to expect and how it's going to work. And we expect to begin early access in late July, about a month prior to the general availability is kind of our target for that. To kind of contextualize all of those numbers on the previous slides about Owens, I have information here about node count, core count, and peak performance. You can see that on the far left of these graphs, you can see the little bar for Glen. And so we turned off 400 some nodes of Glen back in March. And here we're coming up on making the first half of the Owens nodes available. So that'll be, as we mentioned, kind of late August. And then right around the beginning of November, we'll have the rest of the Owens nodes available. This will take us to somewhere around 1,800 nodes, more than twice what we currently have available on the floor today. Core count, you can see how the core density is going up quite a bit when you look at these charts now. Again, we turned off Glen in March. We expect to dramatically increase the number of cores available at late August, and then again in kind of early November. So we're looking to increase to about 2.5 times the total number of cores, or increase by about 2.5 times the total number of cores that we have. And then the peak performance. Owens is going to perform much better than our existing systems. Glen barely even shows up on the total teraflops count on the far left of the graph. So we're looking at more than a 5% increase in total floating point operations per second.
5 times.
What did I say?
5%.
Oh, I'm sorry, 5 times, not 5%. Ooh. Yes. So yeah, it's a dramatic increase. So job scheduling, the total, the final scheduling policies have not been determined yet. We will be using Torque and Moab like we do on our existing clusters. We expect the scheduling will look very similar to our existing clusters. The big difference we have between the two systems we have now is one, Ruby requires whole node scheduling. We will not be doing whole node scheduling on Owens. I don't know if we're going to be doing single thread scheduling or something in between whole node and single thread. But in general, I would expect it to look pretty similar to Oakley and how it works. We're not going to be imposing dramatic changes, so individual users will be able to run some fairly reasonable number of jobs and use a fairly reasonable percentage of the cluster, similar to our other machines. So those are the slides I had prepared to kind of talk about Owens and the new file services. If anyone has any questions, you can type them into the Q&A box, and I can select those and present those. I will hang around for a few minutes to see if any of those come in. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening.